Good afternoon everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. This is Takkar Rapid Series where we are discussing 10 MCQs based on current affairs. We are discussing these 10 MCQs based on yesterday's current affairs क्योंकि दिन भर में जो आप current affairs पढ़ते हैं, न्यूज़पेपर्स पढ़ते हैं या डेली करंट अफेयर्स बुकलेट्स पढ़ते हैं, देयर आफ्टर यू कैन हैव दिस प्रैक्टिस ऑन द नेक्स्ट डे. इट विल हेल्प यू टू हैव कंटिन्यूएशन ऑन द करंट अफेयर्स, ऑल्सो इवैल्यूएटिंग वॉट एवर यू आर रीडिंग फॉर करंट अफेयर्स. Right, so without any delay, let's start with the first question of 7th March or class 73. So the 75 digital villages program, recently it was in news, is initiative of which of the following? Okay, now we may get confused here. Why? Because we are celebrating 75 years of independence and there is many initiatives related to number of 75. ठीक है, तो ये क्या है? डिजिटल है तो यस वी कैन गेट कंफ्यूज्ड हियर, लाइक साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी में मिनिस्ट्री में बी इन्वॉल्व और नीति आयोग में बी इन्वॉल्व. We need to have a pinpointed information about this. 75 digital villages is an initiative launched by RBI. This particular initiative is in the direction of increasing digital payments in, we can say, penetration in rural areas. Okay. Now recently we had celebrated the digital payment week, awareness week we can say, and in that awareness week this particular initiative was launched. Under this initiative the payment service operators are there, right? So those operators, like for example we have Paytm or Phone Pay or Google Pay, GPay, so right, so all these they can payment service, digital payment service operators, they are going to adopt one village per operator and they will have the awareness generation programs in those villages related to digital payments, and there will be enrollment of certain businesses in the villages for the digital payments also. Right, so this is the initiative of RBI. Remember this, B is the correct answer. Right, so those who are online, try to answer in the comment box simultaneously. Okay, so second question. Now we have to understand these statements related to National Commission for Scheduled Caste. We have to identify correct among these three statements, right? So National Commission for Scheduled Caste, this is established under Article 338 of Indian Constitution. This is constitutional body. This is constitutional body. Earlier this constitutional body was together for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, but in 2004 it was separated. In 2004 it was separated, remember this. Now we have separate National Commission for Scheduled Caste and National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. This particular commission also let's say takes into consideration the Anglo-Indian communities in terms of any kind of exploitation and provides safeguards against them. Along with that, we should understand, if we talk about the composition, chairperson is there, vice chairperson is there, and there are 3 members. Together it is 5. And the tenure is 3 years. The tenure is 3 years. Fine. So this is the basic information, and it is, we can say that advisory body, whatever the recommendations are there, they are advisory in nature, not binding on the government. It seeks to provide safeguards against the exploitation of scheduled caste and Anglo-Indian communities. This is correct statement. Now, it specifies inclusion or exclusion of caste in the list of scheduled caste in the states and central government. Now, one should be very clear that the President of India provides, or we can say that adds or removes the particular caste from the scheduled caste list in the states and center. Okay, and any kind of changes that are to be suggested, they are suggested by Parliament and not, we can say, this particular body, National Commission. It is advisory in nature. Okay, it is advisory in nature, so it is incorrect statement. It presents to the President annual report on working of safeguards, that is true. Okay, so all these constitutional bodies, they give the annual report to the President and they are placed on the floors of Parliament, we can say parliamentary houses, by the President. 1 and 3 only is the correct answer in this case. C is the correct answer, right? Okay. Now moving on, consider the following statements regarding amendment of or we can say amendment of the constitution under article 368, and we have to identify the correct statement. Now we are all aware about the amendment procedure of the constitution. The constitution can be amended in the three ways. One is the simple majority, second is special majority where 2/3 of the members are present and voting, and the third one is we can say special majority where the 2/3 members are present and voting, and in addition to that, if suppose the amendment is amending the federal provision of the Indian constitution, then the approval, consent of more than half of the states legislatures is required, right? So this is how the amendment to the constitution is done. Now under article 368, whatever the amendments are done, they are of second and third type, that special majority, not the simple majority. सिंपल मेजोरिटी से जो अमेंड करने वाले, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल आर्टिकल 3 एंड आर्टिकल 4, इफ द अमेंडमेंट इज देयर टू आर्टिकल 3 एंड आर्टिकल 4 ऑफ इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल चेंजिंग द नेम ऑफ द स्टेट्स, formation of new states, or we can say that changing the boundaries of the states, reorganizing the states, all this is done under article 3 and article 4 of the constitution, and that amendment will not be considered as amendment under the article 368, and that requires only simple majority of the Indian parliament. Okay, so simple majority से हो जाता है, but इसके लिए special majority लगता है. Now the bill for the amendment of the constitution cannot be introduced by the private member. Now this is incorrect statement. If we talk about the amendment bill, constitutional amendment bill, it can be introduced by the private member as well as the minister. Who is the private member? Those outside the council of minister, they are the private members. Those who are outside the council of minister, members of parliament I am talking, they are called as private members, and yes, the private member can also initiate this constitutional amendment bill. So the bill must be passed in each house by the simple majority. Now this is not correct, right? There should be special majority. This is not correct. Okay. Now there is no provision of holding joint sitting for the purpose of amendment bill. This is true. When we talk about the joint sitting, if there is disagreement among the houses, both houses, then there can be joint sitting for enacting of particular law. But for specific provisions like this one, amending the constitution or the money bill, so there is no provision for joint sitting. There is no provision for joint sitting. So we have to identify only correct statement. Only 3 is the correct, C is the correct answer, right? Okay, now moving on. Which of the following circumstances are suitable for imposition of precedence rule? And we have to identify the, now precedent rule under Indian constitution can be applied under article 356 and under article 365. Okay, under article 356 it is precedent rule, it is also precedent rule, but it is for administrative reason. If suppose the direction of the central government is not followed, then article 365, or the governance of the state is not carried on the direction of the center, 365. But 356 is, we can say that if suppose the other provision, like if state government follows anti-secular politics, or let's say there is some kind of failure of constitutional machinery in the state, then we can say article 356 ये लागू हो जाता है. Okay, so state fails to comply any direction from the center. This is one of the ground. Allegations of maladministration against the state government. This is not the ground for, we can say, promulgation of precedence rule or state emergency, we can call it. तो maladministration ये नहीं हो सकता है. When the state government pursues anti-secular politics, this is one of the basis, and Supreme Court has given this as one of the basis. ठीक है? तो 1 and 3 only. So B is the correct answer in this case. ओके, एसआर मुंबई केस जो है सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल में इस बारे में बताया हुआ है. नाउ द डिस्क्रिप्शन बेस्ड, द लोकेशन, ज्योग्राफी मैपिंग पार्ट, वर्ल्ड मैपिंग. Salt flat is natural landscape in which large area of flat land is covered by salt. The world's most well-known salt flat is the Salar de Uyuni. It is the largest in the world and contains more than half of the planet's lithium reserves. It is located in which of the following countries? When we talk about more than half of the planet's lithium reserve, we all know it is something called as Lithium Triangle countries. वहां पे सबसे ज्यादा lithium reserves है world के, more than 50%. Lithium Triangle. Which are all countries involved in the Lithium Triangle? These are 3 South American countries: Chile, Bolivia, Argentina. Look at the options now. Look at the options. Only one country is mentioned here, that is Bolivia. Italy, Japan, Russia, ये तो बाहर के है, तो most obvious, यानी कि आपको पता नहीं है उसका नाम, ठीक है, ये जो है सलार दी हुई नहीं, पता नहीं आपको कौन सी कंट्री में, बट विद द अवेलेबल नॉलेज ऑफ लिथियम ट्रायंगल दैट यू कम अक्रॉस मेनी टाइम्स इन न्यूज, you can solve this question. So A is the correct answer, Bolivia, right? Okay, now moving on, look at this Salar de Uyuni, and this is the lithium triangle. We can say that ये Chile है, ये Bolivia and Argentina. This area is having the maximum lithium resources in the world. Now, which of the following can be considered as impact of heat waves? Okay, so heat waves are having the impact on environment as well as species, different species, and human also, agriculture sector also. Now if you talk about higher temperatures during the heat waves, the labor productivity goes down and loss of labor hours can be there. So this is correct. Decline in milk production and reduced consumption rates in the cattle, this is also true. Higher temperature result into decline in milk production among the cattle. Decrease in production of ground level ozone, this is not correct. There is rather increase in the production of harmful ground level ozone when there are higher temperature, and that's why you should remember the ground level ozone, we can say the amount of ground level ozone is always higher during summer as compared to winter. Remember this. Increase in the power demand, that is true. Why? Because for cooling purpose, industrial, domestic and for other aspects, the cooling purpose के लिए power demand बढ़ जाता है. 1 to 4 is the correct answer. So D is the correct answer in this case. Right. Okay. Moving on. Consider the following statements regarding BrahMos missile. Recently Navy had launched, let's say test fired this BrahMos missile, and that's why it is in news. Okay, we have to identify the correct statements. It is the medium range ramjet supersonic cruise missile. That is true, it is cruise missile. Now what is the difference between cruise missile and ballistic missile? The basic difference is in ballistic missile there is, we can say the fire and forget kind of technology, and there is re-entry mechanism. जैसे parabolic path होता है, ये main है ballistic missile का. In cruise missile generally the missile is very near to the ground and it is moving in a horizontal direction. It is maneuverable and it is difficult to detect क्योंकि इसका speed बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. It's more than speed of sound, and that's why we are talking supersonic cruise missile. Remember this. It is joint venture between India and France. Not correct. We all know that it is joint venture between India and Russia. It is the 2-stage missile with solid propellants in both the stages. Not correct. This is also not correct. Rather, the solid propellant is there in first stage, and in second stage there is liquid propellant. ठीक है, लिक्विड प्रोपेलेंट. रैमजेट जो है लिक्विड प्रोपेलेंट से चलता है सेकंड स्टेज पे. सो दिस इज इनकरेक्ट एंड दैट्स व्हाई आंसर शुड बी हियर A only. This particular BrahMos missile is world's we can say most effective cruise missile, and along with that it can be launched from air, ship, land and submarine. हमारे पास सारे variants test fired है successfully. Remember this. It can be launched from air also, land also, water also, that is ship, and submarine also, underwater. Fine. Moving on. Global Education Monitoring Report is released by which of the following organization? Okay, so global, just a moment. Yes. Okay, so Global Education Monitoring Report is released by which of the following? Now report based question, every year minimum one question generally asked by UPSC. अगर ट्रेंड देखा जाए तो एंड ऐसे कुछ रिपोर्ट्स पूछे जा रहे हैं या इंडाइसेस पूछे जा रहे हैं, दे आर नॉट कॉमनली इन न्यूज, सो वी हैड टू कवर इन द हॉरिजॉन्टल मैनर, कवरेज ज्यादा होना चाहिए इसका. ग्लोबल एजुकेशन मॉनिटरिंग रिपोर्ट इज फ्लैगशिप रिपोर्ट ऑफ यूनेस्को, यूनाइटेड नेशन एजुकेशन साइंटिफिक एंड कल्चरल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. रिमेंबर दिस. ओके, सो ए इज द करेक्ट आंसर दिस. Now consider the following statements regarding spatial window for affordable mid-income housing, Swami investment fund. Now this is kind of alternate investment fund which is registered with SEBI. This is correct statement. We have to identify the correct statements among these three. It is sponsored by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Now when we are seeing here housing, we may get easily swayed by this word housing and urban affairs ministry, but this is not correct. It is sponsored by Ministry of Finance. It is sponsored by Ministry of Finance, and this is correct. It is only to provide debt financing to RERA registered residential projects which are pending. There is need of more financing and their completion is pending, तो उनके लिए ये है. 1 and 3 only is the correct answer. 1 and 3 only is the correct answer in this case, right? Okay, now 10th and final question, and the statements are related to olive ridley turtles, and we have to identify the correct statement. It is the smallest and most abundant of all sea turtles in the world. Now a very tricky question, क्योंकि हमें लगता है कि smallest है, but it is second smallest. Second smallest. Which is the smallest one? Kemp olive ridley turtles. Okay, Kemp's olive ridley turtles. KEMPs. ठीक है, KEMP, Kemp's ridley turtle, not olive ridley turtle. So that is the smallest, but yes, this is the second smallest and most abundant, तो ये incorrect हो जाता है. It is the only turtle that is known for unique mass nesting called as aribadas, but this is not correct. Again, this Kemp's ridley turtle is also known for this mass nesting phenomenon. Third one, Gahir Mata Beach on Odisha's Kendrapara district is world's largest mass nesting site. This is correct here. ठीक है, तो Gahir Mata Beach is very famous for this mass nesting phenomenon called as aribadas and for olive ridley turtles, and this is protected site. Third statement is correct here. B is the correct answer in this case. Okay, so yes, these are the 10 MCQs. Let me also assure that last 2-3 days we had the holy holiday, and that's why we could not hold the lecture, but tomorrow's session we will have 20 MCQs and we'll try to cover the yesterday's and day before yesterday's current affairs in that. ठीक है, तो कोई भी चीज मिस नहीं होगा, that we will assure here, and 20 MCQs we'll discuss in tomorrow's session. Fine, any question? Okay then, let us stop. Fine.